And welcome back to Capitol Tonight. Former New York City Mayor Ed Koch and good government groups recently launched a campaign to reform Albany in the form of a political action committee they're calling New York Uprising. The crux of the 85-year-old's plan is to establish a nonpartisan redistricting committee that will eliminate the gerrymandered lines that make up the Senate, Assembly, and congressional districts. It's been just a few weeks, and the mayor has already wrangled pledges from all 4 candidates for governor to veto any redistricting that is not independently created. And we are happy to be joined in the studio now by former Mayor Ed Koch and also the Executive Director of Citizens Union, Dick Dadey. Thanks for coming in, gentlemen. I appreciate it. So today you have, or are testifying before the Investigations Committee of the Senate. And exactly what is this all about now, just briefly?
Well, I'm here, and Dick is here, to support Senator Volaski's legislation, which is the counterpart of Assemblyman Generis's legislation requiring an independent, nonpartisan commission to draw the new lines next year when the census is completed. And we think it's a terrific opportunity to convince other members to join these 2 brave souls and do something that many people have tried over the years and have failed. But this year it can be done, in my judgment, because the public is so enraged that they would, if they could, throw everybody out of office, which is wrong, because there are a lot of good people in office.
It's actually difficult for people to understand. When you talk about reforming Albany, redistricting is probably one of the more complex issues in reforming Albany. Why is it, Dick, that everything stems, in your opinion, from the redrawing of the lines? And also, what would the Senate and the Assembly and Congress, for that matter, in New York look like if it was done fairly?
We'd see more compact and contiguous districts. You wouldn't see villages and towns and neighborhoods divided. Communities of interest would not be divided and represented by 2 or 3 different individuals. The reason redistricting reform is so key to reforming Albany is that safe incumbents are given these gerrymandered seats to run in. They don't have to run an aggressive re-election campaign. They are beholden then to the legislative leaders that help create these districts. And so there's a loyalty payback, and they don't have to engage in serious campaigning, and it results in the polarization of our politics, and it results in people having to stay in their corners and not reach across the middle and seek compromise. You know, a lot of the problems we see right now with the budget not being able to be passed and some of these issues not being addressed stem in part to the fact that incumbents are safely entrenched in their seats.
So I think actually when you unveiled this effort, I think it was you, Mayor, who said that we would likely end up with more Republicans in the Assembly and more Democrats in the Senate? Is that?
And I don't care whether we do or we don't. I mean, but obviously party leaders do.
Right.
But that's not fair. What is fair is to have a competitive battlefield so that the better candidate or the best candidate can win and not have the odds stacked against them. Just so that your viewers know, a gerrymander comes as a result of the name of the person, Jerry, I guess, who originally thought of the idea of carving out a district and then looking at it. Oftentimes people would see a dinosaur or a bird because it wouldn't be a compact district.
Right.
It wouldn't be a contiguous district. It would sort of snake along, bringing in every Democrat or counterwise every Republican in order to make the district safe for the incumbent.
Right, which is why we get, for example, the 20th Congressional District starts in Poughkeepsie and goes very skinny, skinny, skinny all the way up the Hudson to, I think, almost to Lake Placid or all the way up into Essex County. So it's very strange, and then you have Maurice Hinchey, for example, who's all the way from the Hudson Valley into almost to western New York, right? So it's into the near Ithaca, Binghamton area. So it's a very strange situation. Okay. The thing about this is the legislative leaders are not big on your idea.
No.
Right? We have already seen some pushback from that. And how is it that you think that these guys are going to approve this thing?
Well, you know, I believe that every incumbent today realizes that they are part of the endangered species. that there isn't a safe seat in the country, and that is because people are enraged. And what we intend to do is to use that rage in a constructive way. And so we're saying to legislators, look, we're going to ask you to pledge to support this legislation, which is only fair for the public. And if you don't, we're going to let everybody in your district know that you wouldn't, and that the person who's running against you is willing to make the pledge. And I believe that while that won't make everybody sign the pledge, it will make a lot of them sign the pledge. And then in addition, you find as a result of good people saying to themselves, we're tired of being described as dysfunctional. I mean, we're ashamed.
Well,
we're New Yorkers.
Okay,
Some of them.
Some of them. But the problem is, and Dick, you were around for this, the Brennan Center, I mean, what is it, 6, 7 years ago, said New York was the most dysfunctional legislature in the nation.
Correct.
And that was a shame, and people were ashamed and upset, and at the time, Assemblyman Stringer, who's now borough president in Manhattan, put out reform legislation, and he was castigated by his colleagues. Why now? I do understand, Mayor, what you're saying about the anger, but why now?
Because they've seen that dysfunction play out year after year over the last number of years since the Brennan Center tagged it. You know, the budget, the chaos in Albany last summer with the Senate shutting down state government essentially, people now know what dysfunction means because it's affected their lives. And, you know, we have an opportunity this year to have the legislature not seek revenge on their political opponents and gerrymander them out of power, but really to reform the process and restore the integrity to the way in which state government operates.
Okay, so yesterday, I believe it was, or rather over the weekend at the Democratic Rural Conference, Senate President Malcolm Smith made some comments that he said that the Democrats were very much looking forward to redistricting the Republicans into oblivion. And this is actually a very real possibility. And also there's been an effort, some talk coming out of Washington about maybe redistricting Representative Peter King on Long Island into oblivion, out of existence, because we're going to lose one congressional seat, expectations are, because of the census. You said that the Senate President would be sorry about that.
Well, I said more than that.
Well,
I said he was a dope to have said what he said. And I know Malcolm. I like him. In fact, he worked when I was mayor as an intern at City Hall. But to make such a statement proving our point that what they're doing is using the process of government not for good government, but to be able to remain and feed at the public expense. They like to be reelected and elected time after time and not do anything to earn their pay. And what he said will stick with him forever. It'll be in his political obituary.
You know what's incredulous about this is that right now in Washington, D.C., there's talk about regulating Wall Street. How much is necessary?
Right.
We wouldn't think of having Wall Street regulate itself. We would see it as a conflict of interest. Having the legislature draw its own lines is a conflict of interest.